idea of adventure is different for different people, but for a lot of us, it's all about cars. Cars that can go the distance, cars that can cross some major obstacles. The Suzuki Jimny or the Maruti Suzuki Jimny is one such car that promises to do a lot for you. It's now come to India finally after a very long wait. The good thing is that it's come in a 5-door, never seen before avatar. So today in this video, we're trying to tell you if this is the SUV that you've been waiting for. We just can't have enough of SUVs in our market. We also can't have enough of cars from Maruti Suzuki. So SUV from India's leading car brand seems an ideal formula, at least on paper. While SUV and Maruti Suzuki may not be an obvious connect, strangely, one of its cars was this, the Gypsy. The images of it rallying or conquering mountains is easy to apprehend, but also seems like a memory from a distant past. Cut to 2023 comes the much awaited, much talked about Jimny. An SUV designed on the same lines as the erstwhile Gypsy but promises a better fit in the modern world. Will this etch Maruti Suzuki's off-road ability in stone? Let's find out. Now, one of the reasons why the Jimny is already so popular in the market is purely because of the way it looks, the way it's been designed. The compact size, the boxy silhouette, the high ground clearance, they all fit in very nicely into the demands of the buyer. Talking about the design, a lot of things here remind you of the previous generations of the car, which means Suzuki has continued the legacy of the SUV really well. So you look at the vertical slots here, chrome slots, 5 of them. Look at this round iconic headlamps on the car, the slit below the bonnet as well, and then you come here, you look at these narrow bumpers, rear combination. All of these things remind you of the previous generations, which is a great thing on the car. So overall, it's a car that's built to attract you, and even before you drive it, you tend to like it purely by the way it looks. The auto LED headlamps come with washers, which is good for a car that will get dirty more often than not. But these, along with fog lamps, are available only on this higher Alpha trim. The muscular cladding on the wheel arches, rectangular rear quarter glass and placement of the spare wheel are all elements that work well for the Jimny. Overall, the design looks quite minimalist, which gels well with its compact size. But you can do a lot more by choosing various accessories or going for a complete accessory pack. And all that will give the SUV a more exclusive look. There are 6 color options to choose from and only 2, kinetic yellow and sizzling red, are available with this dual tone black roof. The sporty, rugged feel from the outside continues in the cabin as well. Everything you look at points to only one fact: this is a car that's made to do some hardcore stuff, and therefore the cabin is like this. It's an all black theme here. Apart from that, some things remind you of other cars from Maruti Suzuki, like this Smart Play Pro Plus touchscreen system or the steering wheel. You've seen this in many other cars from the brand. But the instrument cluster is something that's nice, exclusive. It reminds you of the iconic, the original Gypsy. That's nice. Ergonomically, it's a mixed bag for me. Buttons are laid out nicely. The power window switches, importantly, are between the seats, both for the front seats and the second row as well. Seats a bit firm, can be a little softer, especially if you're looking at long drives, and door pockets can be a bit more wider as well. Ideally, I would want some more storage spaces inside the cabin, so that's sort of limited inside the Maruti Suzuki Jimny. Features like automatic climate control, push button start, leather wrapped steering wheel and cruise control are only found in this higher Alpha trim of the car. That's also the case with the bigger 9-inch touchscreen system, while the lower Zeta variant gets a smaller 7-inch system. However, both are compatible with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto, which is wireless. Maruti says the surfaces are scratch resistant, and importantly, the design of the dash is to ensure maximum visibility on uneven terrains. The Jimny is a 4-seater, which means only 2 passengers can sit here on the second row of the vehicle. In terms of space, quite decent, not too great but not bad as well, looking at the overall compact size of the vehicle. Headroom, just about okay. That's the case with the under-thigh support as well. So average size Adults will not have a problem in sitting here. You have adjustable headrests also, and this seat can split and fold down in a 50-50 format. So this adds to the practicality quotient in the car and increases the boot space. The Jimny gets a boot space of 208 litres, which frankly, looking at its sub 4 meter silhouette, isn't disappointing. It can go up to 332 litres with the rear seats folded. The side opening door also has its own charm and takes you back to the days of the Gypsy. Alright, so now starts a true test of the Maruti Suzuki Jimny. It's off-roading prowess, and we have come to this dry riverbed on the outskirts of Dehradun to sample the vehicle in some testing conditions. And all this is natural. All the obstacles that we'll cross today, none of this is artificial or have been made specially for this task. So we're just crossing all natural challenges today. The SUV gets a ground clearance of 210 mm and it runs on 15-inch alloys. The former feels adequate, but the width of the tires can be a little more than 195 mm, especially if you want to take your adventures to a higher level. The SUV is built on a ladder frame chassis which is stronger and more robust, and you can sense the extra flex while off-roading. The Suzuki All Grip Pro system is easy to engage, and switching to low range is simple too. Some of these boulders are really big, and at first glance I thought the car will not be able to sail over them. But surprise, surprise, as hasn't been a problem with the Jimny. It has been able to cross these big rocks and boulders quite easily, and the high ground clearance has really come into play here. The rigid axle suspension of the car also comes in handy, where if one wheel is pushed up by an obstacle, the other wheel is pushed more to the ground to ensure better traction. This enables the car to come out of tough situations. The hill descent and hill hold features were put to test too, and they come in handy while taking on steep inclines and declines during the drive. The Jimny in its 5-door version has a wheelbase that is longer than the 3-door model by a good 340 mm. Despite that, we found out that the ramp breakover angle of 24 degrees is quite sufficient here. The design of the bumpers also aids in impressive approach and departure angles. What also helps on rocky patches is the inclusion of a steering damper on the Jimny. On surfaces like these, you will expect a lot of kickback and the steering might go all over the place. But that is largely negated owing to the damper. Driving the Jimny has made me realize the advantages of having an off-roader which is not really big and bulky in size. I think the compact dimensions of this SUV have really helped here. The high ground clearance is something I spoke about earlier as well, but these compact dimensions, this low turning radius, we've crossed a lot of narrow paths today where it wasn't wide enough maybe for a bigger SUV to cross through, but the advantages were there for us to see. The car is moving quite easily, climbing those inclines, using all its features, it's hardly broken a sweat. If you've driven the Gypsy before and are aware of the lack of electronic aids in it, you would like the Jimny's brake limited slip differential. Here the system applies brakes on diagonal wheels which are slipping, and torque is distributed to the other two wheels. While a lockable differential is usually desired by off-road enthusiasts, this one too is able to do a decent job and gets you out of difficult situations. We've seen this engine before on other cars from Maruti Suzuki, but the power to weight ratio really works well for the Jimny. That also helps during off-roading because the car moves easily, it remains nimble and agile, and again you can maneuver it through all these challenges without making too much effort. Spending a few hours with the Jimny in off-roading conditions makes you realize that this SUV truly subscribes to the Suzuki philosophy of providing a machine that is light and capable at the same time. You can take it off the beaten track with the confidence that you will be able to cross all the obstacles. While the Jimny comes with an all-wheel drive system that is standard, it will also be driven a lot on tarred roads. So while it is a good car for Sunday, does it work for Monday too? Let's get to driving it. The first thing you like about the Jimny when you take it out on the road is its drive position. Even though my seat cannot be adjusted for height, it is still high enough to give me a good commanding view of the road. The straight windshield, the narrow A-pillars, they all contribute in giving me a nice clear 180-degree view of the road, especially looking at the kind of places we've driven today up here in the mountains where the roads are narrow and they're winding all the time. The 1.5-litre K15B petrol engine isn't new to us here in India and comes with idle start-stop system. It's a Maruti after all, and efficiency is key here. And the claim figures are 16.94 kilometers per litre on manual and slightly lesser 16.39 kilometers per litre on automatic. I've started my drive with a 5-speed manual gearbox, though we also have the 4-speed automatic seen on some other cars from Maruti Suzuki earlier. But we'll talk about that in a bit. For now, the manual is something that you tend to like. It's quite notchy, and looking at the overall character of the car, that suits it rather nicely. The throws are rather short and the clutch is light enough to ensure that even if there's a need of frequent gear shifting, you will not be troubled when you're driving the Jimny. The less weight of the Jimny does make it an enjoyable car to drive. Acceleration is quite good and the steering provides decent feedback to keep you engaged as a driver. One thing that has really stood out for me on the Jimny on tarmac is the way the suspension of the car behaves. You're going through a sort of rough patch now, but it doesn't unsettle you, it doesn't make you feel uncomfortable, so you can counter these obstacles. So overall, the ride quality is good on the car, something that you will appreciate. Now this is of course the 5-door Jimny, and the wheelbase is significantly larger than the 3-door model of the car. But that doesn't seem to affect the way the car handles or the way it drives. So even when you're driving at high speeds or taking some fast corners, the Jimny gives you good confidence. With the longer wheelbase, the passengers are sitting between the axles and not on them, and that provides good comfort despite the ladder frame body style. Dynamics are not really compromised at high speeds, and there's enough stability while on the move. On the road, the proportions of the car look nice and appealing. Driving the 4-speed automatic now in this iconic kinetic yellow color on the Jimny, and the first thing you notice after driving the manual is that this drivetrain feels a little more refined. So in terms of NVH levels, you get a slightly more quieter cabin when compared to the manual version of the car. The upshifts are not very quick, and we've seen that before in some other cars from Maruti Suzuki on which this 4-speed torque converter has been used earlier. But that's on tarmac. Where it will come to your advantage is when you will go out off-roading, because this car of course comes with an all-wheel drive system. So you will do a fair bit of off-roading when you do buy the Jimny, and there in lower gears, more power and torque will help you in making your maneuvers in a much better way. 6 airbags, ABS with EBD, ESP, brake assist and ISOFIX child seat mounts are all standard on the SUV, though there's no word yet on its crash test ratings. Spending a day with the Maruti Suzuki Jimny helped me understand why this car is such an icon for decades and is sold in 200 countries across the world. Looking macho and doing nothing isn't what this SUV is about. Instead, it comes across as an underdog which can surprise you and is capable of doing just about anything. Yes, you don't get all the bells and whistles, and the task for Maruti Suzuki is to make the buyer understand that this is not just another car from the brand. It's a philosophy that lets you have fun and adventure at a cost that's well within your reach. The car is coming in the first week of June and could be launched starting at an aggressive 10 lakh rupees ex-showroom.